Welcome to Hope to Home, the podcast where hope meets action. I'm Nick, and I'm here with my co-host John. Together, we're shining a light on the stories of resilience and courage from those facing homelessness. Each episode, we break down barriers, spark conversations, and explore how, as a community, we can make a real difference. It's all about understanding and hope, bringing people together to create lasting change. So join us as we journey from hope to home, one conversation at a time. All right, Linda, thanks for joining the podcast. Linda and I actually just met, like literally seconds ago. You might be like, wow, are they still doing pit count a month later? So these were all recorded at one time, folks. And we just split it up into episode chunks that we thought would work. So Linda is here to tell her story. We met her on the pit count night as well. And so, Linda, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Where did homelessness start? When did you start this homeless journey?
This journey in particular started, I would have to say, due to the events of starting November 28th of 2023, when my significant other, who was an addict, and myself as well, I woke up into a messed up situation, and he took full accountability when there was a lot to it. And a lot of people who've been through similar, and a lot of homeless women have. It's more than people think.
So you woke up to what?
I woke up to him having been in psychosis.
Okay.
Caused by meth.
And what was he doing?
I woke up and he was rocking back and forth on the side of my bed, and I could tell that he was not himself.
Mm-hmm.
Lights were on, but no one's home. Is what many people put, but it's actually like the DID, dissociative identity disorder, multiple personalities. Yeah. And that one thought women were a threat. And it created a lot of stress for him and me, you know.
And so when you saw him rocking on the bed, what'd you do?
I was like, hey, but what is going on? Are you okay? Like, and he's like, in the psychosis, he was convinced that I was holding him captive.
Okay.
That personality thought I was a threat.
Okay. Did he try to attack you?
And I went carefully to sit up and reassure him, and he started swinging at me, which in my professional and personal life, I'm actually really good at responding to such attacks, least from MANT. I took MANT for work.
Okay.
For 8 years. So, you know, I managed to see what was happening and react. And I'm like, hey, like, what is going on? Like, I was not attacking you. And he was screaming. I knew it was.
It had to be the freakiest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever done this before?
Yes, but not to the degree of that. And, I mean, knowing how he normally, not in that state, was the sweetest, most loving. Like, he literally, it sounds bad and stupid, but like I honestly thought it was like bittersweet, almost like, you know, he was trying to be thoughtful, but man, I wish it wasn't that way. He had bought me pepper spray, saying I would never be able to figure myself if I hurt you, of all people. Like, I love you. You're the one person I want to protect, and you know, if you gotta use that on me to protect yourself, like, do it.
Okay.
You know, but that's how powerful of a drug dope can be, you know, if you don't.
Meth. Were you both taking?
Yeah. Mine started more as a self-medication because of my sleep disorder issue.
Okay.
My insurance kept, I guess, trying to get my sleep doctor to answer the phone for a drug test, and my doctor wouldn't answer them. They kept calling me. My insurance would call me in my pharmacy, as my doctor would claim, oh, I'm prescribing you the Stimulants for your your sleep disorder. I'm like, okay. But then I kept getting told, insurance is denying, they need to talk to your doctor. They want you to tell him to call them. And I'm doing this for a literal year. And the doctor kept acting like he didn't know. And at the end of the year, I mean, my sleep disorder, like narcolepsy attacks with idiopathic hypersomnia, sleep consumes. It's kind of like being Sleeping Beauty. Your body doesn't want to wake up. It, whether I use or not anything like alcohol, weed, I would, if I slept longer than 8 hours, which is really easy with my condition, I would wake up feeling like I had drank a fifth liquor or an ounce of weed. And I actually had to have my boyfriend, my abuser, he went to appointments with me going, Doc, like, I know she didn't, like, he advocated for me, which I was really grateful for. And the doctor goes, oh, yeah, that's an aspect of your disorder. And the only way you can treat IH is through stimulants because our body just doesn't produce that chemical. So my initial issue with the drugs,
it all started from sleep,
was because of trying to deal with sleep disorder. I was a single mom to a kid. I was full-time worker in medical home, and I couldn't just randomly pass out. I was so scared that I was gonna like get hooked like I'm to where I am at now. But I guess when my doctor fucked up for a year, and then it made it to where I couldn't. It's something that
when your significant other was in the psychosis thing, did you still have your kid with you at that time?
Oh yeah,
was he in there? So you had to be scared for him too.
Oh, he wasn't at the house at that time.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because that was just after I had lost my job from my significant, the abuser, having lost. I can't put it all on him because I had my part to play in me losing my job, but basically, he was supposed to show up on time to come get me, and I initially was gonna do. It was over a basket of laundry, to be honest, and it was.
Most marriage fights are over the stupidest things. It's
100% true. Yeah,
and for also just for a relationship fights are over dumb things.
Oh yeah, and
would you agree with that, Shane?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I've been in a few long-term relationships, but like this one was the one that messed me up and caused it was kind of, in my mind, the cause was because before I smoked a lot, but it was
like weed,
only.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm talking the meth.
Oh, okay.
But it was more like periodic through the day, little bits enough to wake up. I didn't start going dark side, as I call it, or falling into the addiction until after that day on the 28th. And
so he like hitting you. What did you do? Were you like, you're out, I'm out? What happened?
I tried to because after he swung on me, he was on top of me on my bed, strangling me, like, and I still can't entirely, like, a lot of it in the moment, I can kind of visually, but at the same time, I can't, and I know I'm missing bits.
Sure, yeah, you kind of black out a bit.
I was almost muscle memory reacting.
Did you call the cops, or did you just run away, or what did you do?
I got out of that one. He and got on fell on the floor at the end of the bed. He tried to swing me again. I got out of that. Basically, it ended finally after he chased me down the stairs to the living room and tore through my barricade, which was something that was a change from how he had been before. In that state, because before, if he at least had a straight shot to the door and I made it to where he could tell I wasn't going to stop him, he would just go for the door. It would stop.
Okay.
Because it was just that personality or state was trying to protect him. Yeah, it was trying to protect him. It's sort of deal from me. And so when he started tearing through the barricade coming at me, I knew this was beyond way worse than anything. It was a change, bad, serious change.
So what'd you do?
And thankfully, in seeing how he was coming at me and I was crouched in the corner of my lounge chair, I actually ended up it was more of a wrestling move, but I kind of grabbed him by his knees and down his knees to his chest. And I'm like, dude, you need to stop putting your hands on me and you need to stop breaking my stuff. Like,
you kind of pinned him down?
Kind of. In that moment where I had his knees to his chest, I kind of was like, I could see the, oh shit reaction, which to me was like, I hated that I had to make him feel that way towards me of like, oh shit, she can like.
But your life depended on it.
But my life depended on it. And I was like, also like, see, I'm not as weak as you seem to think I am. You know, just because I'm really nice to people and try to help doesn't mean I'm weak or dumb. It means I've been through hell and I don't want anyone to go through what I did. I'd rather, you know, help and see people do better.
So, but after the fight,
he went outside and my neighbor found me and she gave me an ultimatum of either she called the police or I call.
Mm-hmm.
And I called so that, you know, the prosecutor might consider that I just wanted him to get mental health help in addiction.
Sure.
And which it did to a certain extent, but I'm not going to go too far in that.
Sure. Did he go to jail?
He did. He was in jail overall for 10 months. He got out 2 months early for good behavior and stuff. And I even for a period of time, I was going to visit him at the jail because of when he's sober and doing good, he was my person.
Yeah, he's a different person. Yeah.
He's the sweetest person and funny and caring. And
once he went to jail, what happened? Were you able to stay in that apartment? Or
that was kind of what sparked me making the decisions that what kind of sparked it was after that I had a miscarriage and my roommates kind of
at that time?
I did not knowingly.
Okay, not knowingly.
I was about 2 weeks when I miscarried. Okay. My roommates, who I technically weren't supposed to have because they weren't on my lease, but they were, you know, I couldn't be alone, and I after that a day with the attack and then the miscarriage, about 3 weeks later, roughly, give or take, I literally I lost it mentally. I was smoking more than I'd ever smoked, and in just kind of I thought that attack was gonna make the apartment kick me out, but thankfully that wasn't the initial. Ended up being, ironically, last year, the end of January, beginning of February. I want to say it was the 28th of January, the day after my birthday, because if memory serves, I was trying to celebrate my birthday for once, and one of the roommates' boyfriend's cousin wanted to see them, was what I was told. And I was like, you know what? I have my birthday. Yeah. He was always nice and not even worried. And we were just I had just got okay with people who used IV. Okay. For just meth. I barely had, and I had super strict, like, I worked in healthcare and all, and I have a small child. None of you are going to mess with that. Mm-hmm. I thought. And I made it clear, you know, that you know, we all do it out of sight. There's no opiates. Mm-hmm. I don't like that stuff. I don't even like taking aspirin, but my reason's because it makes me sleep, you know. So
you're okay with smoking meth, just not IV meth? Or...
Oh, well, no. That was before. I ended up, unfortunately, learning why IV use of meth is one of the hardest ways to kick it and is the most, yeah.
So did somebody do something like that and that got you kicked out? Is that what happened?
I didn't know did heroin. It was that cousin who showed up. I happened to just hear his girlfriend scream from my kitchen. I was in the living room of my apartment. Oh God, Trevor, please don't do this to me. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm a healthcare professional, or most recently have been a healthcare professional. I'm like, what was going on? Like, I quick around the corner, and yeah, he was clutching his chest, and I had to find out that, oh my God, there was heroin in my apartment. And then I was relieved, but also like, this is my apartment. I should know that there's Narcan in my apartment. Like, great that everyone's got that, but like, why am I just finding out right this minute? Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to talk about this because you know my rules. Like, that's not okay. That's really disrespectful. And because of me sitting there trying to get them to all back off and let me do CPR, because even Narcan, we were losing. I think overall between the Narcans that were in the apartment and then the first responders, 6, I think, to bring him back. And I mean, what by the time the police and first responders showed up, I was having to perform chest compressions on him in my they put him in my bathtub of always.
Okay, who did? The people there?
The other
friends?
people, yeah, because they didn't understand, they were freaking out.
Okay, not a good place to do CPR.
Yes, and I kept trying to get them to stop, and explain, yo, I'm a healthcare professional. Like, I can save him if you all listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or at least get him to where.
End up having to call an ambulance?
I had to yell for my roommate, the one roommate who did help pay rent, to come down, and he goes, y'all are good Samaritan law. We're fine. Call 911. But he was already on it, and he was actually trying to flag him down, thankfully. He just was trying to prove a point to them. With him jumping in and helping, I was able to finally get everyone to back off. So it was me having to convince the girlfriend, if you do not let me perform chest compressions at least, because his jaw is locked and he is gray and turning gray and
so
stuff.
Is that what made you lose the apartment?
That because I called the
final straw.
Apparently, it was because they literally said, because I called
the
ambulance for someone who was at my apartment, and I guilty by association type deal in the lease. And
sure.
So
where did you end up going when you lost your apartment?
When I lost my apartment,
did you have your kiddo with you at this point?
I had my son when I had started having less at that point, because I was trying to be responsible enough to be like, look, I can't make sure he gets to school right on time, and I don't want him seeing some of this crazy and experiencing the craziness that's happening in my apartment, because he deserves better. Mm-hmm. And his son's grandma, I really owe a lot to that woman.
She's kind of raising him right now.
Yeah, because his dad isn't in the picture, his choice, not mine, and I respect it because it's his addiction.
He's trying to get he wants to get well before he tries to.
Well, there's a lot more to it, but that's the easiest, simplest.
Gist.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So your son goes and lives with grandma. Where do you go and live?
I was then. I didn't have anywhere really to go. I kept trying to get family, my mom and stepdad, or my dad and sister, to let me stay with them. But of course, my dad and I had a strained relationship at that point. Actually, most of my family at that point,
because had you burned bridges with them, or just because they weren't interested?
There was that's a really complicated answer. A mix of
maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, bit both. More so, just I wasn't a wanted kid. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. I was kind of the scapegoat.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
From your biological parents, or
yeah, they were trying their best, but they themselves were,
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
Going through their own things.
So you were trying to be with family, but family wasn't really interested. So where'd you end up landing? Like, where'd you lay
went
your
to
head after you lost your apartment?
I got dumped at the farmhouse, the family historic, my step family, my mom's new husband from when she left my dad.
So like stepfather and mother?
Yeah.
Is that kind of?
Yep.
Okay.
His family's historic farmhouse, but that was also where my childhood sexual trauma happened. And
so that brought up a lot of memories.
Oh yeah,
memories.
It downright scared me to go back there, and because I had tried, and I avoided that place for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, in that time though of the decade, I would try to see if I could at least just look at the place or drive past. And every time I would get the same anxiety and fear. But the weird thing is in that time where I got dumped there.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I kept trying to run away, knowing that I wasn't going to be able to stay there very long, the place was already condemnable. Mom and them kept lying to me about what the condition of the house was that I was getting dumped to. Like, all the way up until the day they dumped me, the story kept changing on what I was coming into.
Okay.
And it ended up being, there barely any electric, and it definitely wasn't safe how we had it.
So there wasn't anybody living there anymore?
Oh, technically, yes, but
I mean, other than you?
Oh,
no,
there was a caretaker.
There was a caretaker. Okay.
Was supposed to be.
Okay.
My step-uncle had been living there before. He was my original abuser, so to speak, and he's in prison.
Did you end up staying in there at all?
Yeah. But it was really hard because I was basically fed a power cord through the parlor doors. I stayed in the parlor. It's a like almost studio apartment.
Mm-hmm.
There was no running water in that place. The reason the power cord was coming through there was because there was only electric coming from certain outlets.
Okay.
And I noticed that shortly after I started staying there, kind of attempting to, I noticed a city inspector card on the door, and I was like,
what city are we in? You don't need to tell me.
Oh, that was in Leonidas.
And how long ago was this?
This was just earlier, March of 2024.
Okay, so we're March of last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I bounced back and forth between the farmhouse and a couple of friends' houses.
Okay.
So I could get the showers and stuff. That was why
Sure,
I bounced.
You don't have running water.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
And so I ended up that, and I also, my PTSD would.
Well, that's totally
with that house, I would get overwhelmed.
So how long did you bounce back and forth?
From March 22nd, roughly, of 2024 until it was officially condemned August 1st, and that was the last day I was able to stay in there. I went just this last December to try and get my things I left for storage, because it worked out that I could at least leave my things there safely.
Mm-hmm.
And had it was all I had in the world, and just it was in this parlor, and it went up in flames this last December. Mm-hmm. And that was it
went up in flames.
Yeah. Okay. It's something I guess they're still investigating. I don't know much, but
sure. So
yeah.
Explain to me. So in that time you're bouncing back and forth, do you have a job, or are you just?
I was not. At that point, I had sadly, roughly about January was when I started where I decided, you know what, I want to try IV. Because I had known someone and got close with them, kind of mother hen almost. I couldn't understand why that person was willing to lose themselves mentally. And it was sad, and because it's you could tell they just weren't. They were willingly losing themselves.
So what made you?
And I wanted to understand. I wanted to understand it. Because I couldn't.
Understanding it, you wanted to do. So
I wanted to try it to understand.
And did you lose yourself?
Yeah, unfortunately, I hate to admit it. I trying to numb myself, try to make it easier for me to be like, I feel safe, I feel comfortable, or at least, I can stay awake and aware of what's around me. And I realized I was not, I was losing myself. I was.
So in August, when in August when the place got condemned, where did you lay your head then?
That's when I came to Thoroughbrewers with a 2-person tent my mom had given me.
Did your mom give it to you for the intent to live out? Okay. All right.
My family knew. I was hoping that my mom and stepdad, or my dad and sister at the time, might have been willing to let me temporarily stay, but everyone resolutely, my dad and sisters, I could really understand, but I was given an absolute no.
Okay.
And told that if I didn't want to stay in the tent, then I go get dropped off at a shelter.
Did you ever think about trying shelter?
I did, but at the same time, I had Keystone help me the first time, and I heard a lot. There was so many rumors in the homeless community about the confusion over who to go to for the HARA for help, and then of course I was also noticing on the news, hearing about HUD for Michigan having been shut down or closed or whatever, or something like that, or maybe it was Section 8. One of the programs, the big ones.
So you chose a tent.
And I couldn't, I was like, I knew my addiction would, I wasn't quite yet to the point that I felt that a shelter, and so
you knew that hold on, sorry, I just want to make sure I understand. So you went to, really, it was twofold, so correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak for you.
No, you're good.
But it was twofold. One, you didn't really know what was going on with the shelter, but two, you also kind of knew that there was a drug rule.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I didn't want to be disrespectful.
Probably couldn't. Yeah.
And I knew that with my sleep disorder, that was part of where I was losing myself was, I mean, I wasn't wrong, and my sleep disorder is very extreme. When I don't use, I sleep for days straight, like not even trying. It's just that I just am so tired. My body just doesn't, and I have to. I've thankfully since roughly the mid-December, because of some events that happened in the first 2 weeks of December, this last one of 2024, I had finally, like, it was clicking, like, real hard of, like, okay, yeah, I'm not okay with this, and you know what? Like,
the
yeah, it was,
isn't working out for me, basically.
I was like, I was losing myself. I lost too much to it, and I, like, especially after I was
this in December, is it?
Like, I had started to finally wake up, as I call it, or open my eyes, stop turning the blind eye to how bad I really was.
Okay. Were you in the tent
October?
This whole time?
Yep.
Okay.
It started, well, end of October, my tent, I got ransacked when I spent a couple nights at my dad and sister's, because they would occasionally.
Like a person, or by the police? By who?
It was by another homeless person. I actually know from some other people who it was, and I actually don't have an issue with the person because they didn't know who I was.
Okay.
You know, and that's something you just, if you're living on the streets or in the tent, you know, it happens more than people think. And I mean, even if you're not in the tents, if you're staying at, say, you know, the trap houses or whatever, the plugs houses, you know, it's almost guaranteed you're going to have things stolen from you, you know, to feed other people's addictions, or they can't get it themselves. They want it. I get it, but it pisses me off to no end, because when people were kind of treating my apartment as a plop house, and I can admit that, and I felt powerless to get them out. And I had $1,200, my tax money of 2024, $1,200. I have nothing to show for it because it was stolen from me, from people who knew my sleep disorder was extreme and took advantage of me.
So when it got cold, were you?
I was still in the tent.
You were still in the tent, but so you were spending some nights with your stepfather's house?
Oh, my dad and sisters. That point, because up until the tent had got attacked, I was out here.
Okay.
Mostly over by the library here, and that in this little hidden wood. It was not hidden, but like,
sure. I think we were just there.
Yeah. And it was really nice, actually.
Okay, so what'd you do what happened after October?
After October, when I came back to my tent after a few days, I was sick, and I thought a different person had attacked my tent, but I came to my spot where a church had given me okay to have my tent there if I, didn't, like, throw parties out there, be respectful.
Sure, yeah.
But I got sick, and I also had concerns of someone trying to follow me out there. He was a dealer who kept trying to cause problems for me.
Okay.
And I came back to my tent was slashed. And more than half of my things.
And this was in October? Yeah,
it was mid-October. They took everything that wasn't clothes.
Okay, so what happened after that?
It was literally the same day. The reason I went to the tent that day, I was still sick. My dad had come home from work having a bad day and told me, "You were only supposed to be here a night. You're homeless. Go." Just like that. After all I did was turn around on the couch and go, "Hey, Dad, did you have a good day at work?" That's all I said.
And so where'd you end up laying your head that night?
I had to come back crying and go, "Dad, my tent was just destroyed and my things gone." I literally loaded up my moped and bike. My bike cart had been stolen. Like, I literally had to load what I could. And I literally had my cot and a few bags of clothes and my bedding, and that was it. And go back to my dad bawling, knowing that he didn't want me there because I'm homeless, as he had told me just barely.
Did he take you back?
Begrudgingly.
At this point, David came back. The person that you have just spent the last 2 of our episodes listening to. With disheartening news, the warming centers were closed. But I think this shows how and where our homeless population can get their hope from in times where they don't see any hope. So we're going to end with this, and please come back because episode 2 of Linda's story is absolutely amazing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's David.
Okay.
Hey,
I just wanted to make sure. I just saw a black figure.
Okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be emotional or anything, but I don't mean to interrupt, but the warming stations ain't open. Okay. What? So I came back over here and I sat down and I started going through some of my messages, and a friend of mine, he sent me this thing. I want to share it with you guys because it's so.
Yeah. Hey, can I come out?
Listen to this guy.
Yeah.
Just give me 1 sec.
Is it a video or what? What are we?
It's a video.
Do you mind if I?
This is for everybody who deals with guilt, everybody who deals with shame, everybody who feels like I don't know if I could consecrate because you don't know what I've been doing. There's no way God is gonna listen to me. He's not gonna hear me. Man, I've been in sexual immorality. Man, I've been far away from God. I know it's a new year, but I'm not feeling God right now. I'm far away. This is for all of us who are dealing with that. Listen to what he says in verse 12. Yet even now, in the middle of your rebellion, declares the Lord. Watch this word. Return to me.
And that, friends, wraps up another episode of Hope to Home. We'd love to hear your thoughts or any questions you have about homelessness or anything we discussed today. If you have a service to offer or a personal story about homelessness, reach out. We'd love to feature you on a future episode. And most importantly, if you're listening right now and you are in the midst of your own struggle with homelessness and aren't sure where to turn, please don't hesitate to contact us. We'll do everything we can to help. For any of these, you can reach us at hopetohomecast@gmail.com or on Facebook at facebook.com/hopetohomecast. And be sure to join us right back here every other Friday for more inspiring conversations. Thanks for being with us, and remember, together, we can bring hope to home.